Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a closer look at something really disturbing out of Boulder, Colorado, based on the sources you sent us.
Yeah, it's about this peaceful gathering that turned incredibly violent.
Exactly. So our aim here is to pull out the key facts,
Yeah.
understand the context the sources are giving us, and really unpack what happened.
And the sources, they really paint a picture. It happened June 1st, 2025, right there on the Pearl Street Mall in Boulder.
Time to target.
It was a run for their lives walk. So specifically a demonstration calling for the release of Israeli hostages.
Okay, let's maybe get into the details from the sources. The attacker, Mohammed Sabri Solomon, 45, an Egyptian national.
Right. And the way he approached, it's kind of chilling. He apparently tried to blend in, wearing an orange safety vest, even carrying flowers.
Before attacking from behind.
Yeah, exactly. And the weapons. Pretty terrifying. Molotov cocktails and what sounds like a makeshift flamethrower. Maybe a weed torch.
Wow. And the sources describe just pure chaos.
Total chaos. He threw the firebombs, used the flamethrower. People were scattering. Some even caught fire. And he was shouting things.
Like Free Palestine.
And end Zionists. That's what reports say. And then this strange detail, he apparently set himself on fire, too, during the attack.
Just horrific. And the human cost, the sources make that clear.
They do. Initially, it was 13 injured reported, but later sources, like the AP one, updated that to 15 people plus a dog.
15 people. And the ages. Really wide range.
Incredibly wide, from 25 all the way up to 88 years old.
And there's one victim mentioned specifically, right? Barbara Steinmetz.
Yes, and her story really stands out in the sources. 88 years old, a Holocaust survivor, suffered burns.
And her quote.
It's powerful. She reportedly said, "What the hell is going on in our country? I never thought I'd face this again." It's just devastating.
Absolutely. The sources also mentioned 6 people hospitalized, 2 seriously at first.
Right.
So moving from the attack itself, what about the legal side, the charges against Solomon?
Well, they are extensive. The sources list 42 felony counts. That's a lot.
42. What kind of charges are we talking about?
It includes attempted first-degree murder under 2 theories, actually. Deliberation, meaning planning, and extreme indifference to human life.
Yeah.
Also assault on elderly and at-risk folks using incendiary devices.
And importantly, a hate crime charge.
Yes, a bias-motivated crime enhancement. The sources explain it's based on targeting people because of their perceived race, religion, or national origin.
And the potential sentence.
It's huge. Up to 624 years if convicted on everything. Bond's set at $10 million. He's currently in Boulder County Jail.
Okay, so what about his background? The sources mentioned his immigration status.
Yeah, this is a significant piece. He came in August 2022, tourist visa. Overstayed it expired Feb 2023.
But he applied for asylum.
He did, back in September 2022. So according to one source, that asylum claim was still pending when the attack happened, which technically gave him a kind of legal basis to be in the U.S., even with the expired visa.
Huh. Complicated. Did he have a work permit?
One source says he got one early 2023, but suggests it might have expired too. It's a bit tangled.
And the sources mentioned he tried to get a gun.
Right. Allegedly tried to buy a firearm, planned this for maybe over a year, but got denied because of his immigration status, which, the sources suggest, is why he went with the firebombs and flamethrower.
And the motive. What are the sources saying about why he allegedly did this?
His online activity, the statements, they seem to point to, well, a deep hostility towards Zionism and Israel, sort of radicalized anti-Zionist views.
Oh, not necessarily part of a larger group.
Doesn't seem like it, based on what the sources say. Not believed to be part of a formal terrorist organization, though the investigation is looking into, the extent of his radicalization.
And this has impacted his family too, right?
Yes, deeply. His wife and 5 children were detained by ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
And that caused some political waves.
It did, especially after a White House statement came out saying the family could be deported as early as tonight. That sparked debate.
Are investigators looking into the family's involvement?
They are, trying to see if they knew anything or helped plan it, although Solomon himself apparently said nobody else knew. So conflicting points there.
Okay, so let's talk reactions. The sources cover quite a few.
Understandably, the Jewish community reaction was shock, outrage. Rabbi Mark Soloway is quoted calling it not just a hate crime, it's terrorism. Really emphasizes the trauma.
And the government's view?
The FBI and DHS are looking at it as potential domestic terrorism. And you had lawmakers, according to the sources, calling for different things: tighter screening, better hate crime enforcement.
DHS Secretary Kristi Nolan made a statement, too.
Yeah, specifically about cracking down on visa overstayers and prosecuting or deporting people advocating anti-Semitic violence.
But there were also warnings about potential backlash.
Right. Civil rights groups cautioned against Islamophobia potentially rising because of this case. A really complex set of reactions.
It feels like this event, as reported, just poured gasoline on several already fiery debates.
Absolutely. You see connections being drawn in the sources to rising anti-Semitism, big arguments over immigration policy, especially asylum and overstays, and that really tricky line between free speech and inciting violence, especially with everything going on related to the Middle East.
So summing up from the sources, we have a targeted violent attack using firebombs on a peaceful demonstration. Just brutal details.
And the sources definitely place it within that broader context: rising anti-Semitic violence, the timing near a Jewish holiday, other recent attacks. It's not seen in isolation.
It really makes you think, looking at all this information from the sources, about how ideological hatred, the kind described here, can just erupt into terrifying violence. And it forces that difficult conversation, which you see reflected in the reported reactions about security, freedom, immigration, and the real human cost of radicalized words and ideas in our society today.